Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of NBC's 10 Count. I'm Steve Fall, and of course, with me is the one and only, the master of the diamond cutter. That's DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. How you doing today? Oh, yeah. I was going to say, can I do this? Am I allowed?
Actually, great. I got so many great things going right now. That's like, if you would have told me I'd be 2 weeks from 66 years young, and I would be having this many things going on, I would think, really? Is that really going to happen like that? Okay, cool. I'll be good to go.
Yeah, man. Outstanding. Well, let's talk about it because on April 3rd, you're going to be part of a WrestleMania pre-party with Ric Flair and Jake the Snake Roberts. And, of course, you still can get tickets at VIPSportsGetaway.com. But what can fans expect when they go into an event with DDP, Jake the Snake, and Ric Flair?
Well, it's all about the party. It's the party atmosphere of the spectacle. It's, we're days away from, the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. And, people like to, they want to get as many autographs as they can. And I'm only going to be at WrestleCon on Friday for about 4 hours, and I won't be anywhere else. But, on the actual, where the party is at. And if you go to, what is it, VIP Sports
Getaway.com, my friend.
It's all the information's there. But the really cool part is I've been and worked with this guy. His name is Chris Randolph, and he throws the biggest tailgate parties for the Cowboys because his restaurant is right across the street from Dallas Cowboys Stadium. And what he does, he throws up the whole tent thing, so it doesn't matter about the weather. And he has top shelf booze and beer and wine and the best damn barbecue you have ever eaten. Plus, he's got bands going on, he's got Q&As going on, and he's got I'm going to be there, Rick's going to be there, and of course my boy Jake the Snake Roberts. And again, it's about being like right there before you walk in, so you can catch a good buzz, get some autographs, have a great time. And it starts around 3 o'clock. The information's up there, but it's literally going to be going on right before you walk in to the final day of WrestleMania. I can't believe they're doing 2 days now. I understood it when they were doing it, with the COVID thing, with the lockdown. I understood I could get more. And I guess they feel that they can double it up. So I guess a lot of the tickets are like you can go for 2 days. Yeah. And when people come to WrestleMania weekend, there's so many things going on, from WrestleCon to different wrestling shows to different Q&As to different guys doing stand-up. I mean, it has turned into probably one of the top 5 biggest money makers to come into a city. So now people fight for, the right to have WrestleMania in their city, kind of like the Super Bowl, which is really cool.
It is pretty awesome to think that WrestleMania went from, people describe wrestling in the 80s as like smoke-filled arenas to bring your families the entire weekend. The week really takes over Dallas. So it's going to be intense. With WrestleMania, though, coming up, we have so many things that I think people want to hear your opinion on. And what are you most excited for at the WrestleMania cards themselves? Or maybe moments. You have your boy Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back on that Kevin Owens show. You got Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns tearing it apart, Ronda versus Charlotte, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. What moment or match are you going to be staring at that TV watching?
Well, I'll actually be there because I'll go right from the party right over there. We got a VIP box and everything, as soon as we get done with the party. So, and I'll be there Saturday probably too. Of course, I want to see the Kevin Owens, Stone Cold Steve Austin thing. And people have been asking me, do you think he's going to have a match? And I'm like, no way. And then I saw what kind of shape he was getting in. And I mean, Steve, we talk all the time. I'm like, dude, you're getting serious for Mania. Steve Austin's not showing up anywhere unless he is in peak condition. So, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know there's going to at least be some stunners going on. But, it's going to be interesting. And KO puts on a great show, too. So I'm excited about that. I tell you, the women, I have so much respect for women's sports. Like I'm watching the NCAA playoffs with the women, basketball. I mean, the soccer, the wrestling, the fighting. I mean, the UFC stuff. I mean, women have stepped it up at a different level. So I'm definitely want to see, my girl Charlotte, which we share the same birthday of April 5th. I want to see her and Rhonda coming back. And Rhonda said talk some smack about wrestling when she left the last time. So I know that the Nature Boy's daughter, the queen of professional wrestling, as far as I'm concerned, I know she would not have taken kindly to that. So they may be working together, but I'll guarantee you, she ain't no lightweight, man. She's all of 5'10", and she is twisted steel and sex appeal. So I'm looking at that to be a hell of a match. And Bianca, I've been watching her since her NXT days. Yeah. And Becky's, one of the best in the business. So I expect that to be and it's like a double headliner for the women on Saturday, which has never happened, but women deserve it today. And I'm really, and everybody loves watching them now because these girls are doing stuff that like mind blowing to me. I would love to have seen Medusa Michelli or Sherry Martel in the middle of this mix in their prime, because they would have been amazing. Sasha Banks too. She's really, really stepped up her game. So again, the women I'm really excited about. Anytime you get Brock Lesnar in the ring, and I think Roman Reigns is the big dog. He is the guy that literally he's bringing it, man. I love that he flipped over and had a change of attitude because they finally let him. And, I think he has always delivered on every level. So I think no matter what, that's going to be a great match. And Brock, I love how Brock has stepped out of the box. He's not just a beast of carnage. He's a character, and he is I think he's going to be more remembered for, in wrestling for the personality he's showing, today. Because really that's what it comes down to. Like, how do you get people to care? And you said earlier, coming into this, and during the Monday Night Wars, I was a monster figure at the top at the heap. But I got there because, my real name before I changed it to Dallas Page was Page Joseph Falkenberg. And I knew that name was never going to draw any money in professional wrestling. So I changed it to Dallas Page. And, as I was trying to become this bigger than life wrestling persona, I wasn't ever really connecting with the fans, But once Page Joseph Falkenberg stopped trying to be this over-the-top wrestling, Diamond Dallas Page guy, and Diamond Dallas Page started taking on the characteristics of Page Joseph Falkenberg, man, my career blew up. And all I did was, take it up 5 or 6 notches, sometimes 7 or 8 notches on really who I am. And today with my whole DDP yoga program, like the reason why people are so attracted to it, because a lot of them see it over the years and then they finally get my app, and then they do it because they trust me. They know that I'm not going to tell them something that's not a fact. I wear my heart on my sleeve. What you see is what you get. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I tell you this will help you, it will help you. And like right now, I'm shooting a show that I call Change or Die. And I completely executive producing it, everything. It's out of the same house. I've got a couple homes at this point. And this house I was keeping for rent is the Resurrection House, the Resurrection of Jake the Snake, which is on Amazon Prime. And people still write me every day how much they're moved by the resurrection of Jake the Snake. If anybody's never seen it, go to Amazon Prime. You can see that documentary, this little picture of Jake right here. Or you can see the new doc we put out last year called Relentless, which is my story about me blowing my back out to where I am now. But and they're both super inspirational. But Change or Die is something that me and my business partner, Steve Yu, came up with. And we take 5 people and put them in the recovery crib. And 3 of them people won't know. They're regular people. 2 of them, you will know. One is Buff Bagwell, who's had a tough couple of years, and substance abuse and just that Jake type stuff. And his body's so beat up from accidents he got into high, and got tickets for. So trying to help him. And Butterbean. Remember Butterbean?
Of course. He knocked out Bart Gunn at WrestleMania 15.
Right.
Oh,
that's a shoot too. Bart was a double tough son of a bitch too. But both of those guys are really beat up. And if they don't, change their lifestyle, they're not going to be here much longer. And then I have 3 other people, a woman who's 67 and 100 plus pounds overweight, a young lady who's 33, same scenario. And then I have a young man, his name is Taylor, and someone had texted me, DDP, I'm buying the program from DDP Yoga, your app, your year-long app. This kid, my brother found him on TikTok, and he's really trying. He goes, would you just say a couple inspirational words on a video to tell him he could do the program? And normally I would have done that in a heartbeat, but I hadn't filled that 5th spot yet. And I'm looking at his picture. So I had my, producers call him up and see if he qualified and see if he, if he was really ready to put the work in and change his life. And when he got to my house and he weighed in, he was 21. It was right before he turned 22. He was 486 pounds, 5'5". And when he got on the scale, he realized he was 5'13", and he just started crying, and everybody's heart just went out to him. Yeah. And we're into our 3rd week, and he's doing so good. For someone to walk around the house is not a big deal. For him, it is, without sitting down. So we're teaching these people. And what's going to be so amazing about Change or Die, which will air no later than January of next year. It might start over the holidays. I might start it then, because it's got a lot of real emotional, impact to it. It's to help people, let them see what real food is, because most people have no idea, and how to reboot their brain, change the story you tell yourself. It's educational. It's Biggest Loser meets The Apprentice, because there's challenges, meets intervention. And it's helping these 5 people change their lifestyle. And not just change it, but help them not just change their lives, but own their lives, so they can live more productive, longer lives. So wow. That's another thing that I'm really excited about. And whenever I'm not doing interviews or auditioning for different parts, I'm over there at the house working with the people.
Man, that's an inspirational story. I can't wait to see that. Let's go back to WrestleMania just for a brief moment. But WrestleMania, everyone talks about the WrestleMania moment. Now, you defeated Christian at WrestleMania 18 for the European title. Now, was that your WrestleMania moment, or did you in your brain, or even today, feel like you should have gotten a bigger one, maybe?
I would like to have gotten a bigger one. It's crazy because I've achieved just about every single goal I've ever set for myself. And it might be a little to the left, it might be a little to the right, it might be a little under, or sometimes I just blew right past them. And I always said, I got to work WrestleMania. I never said, I got to work the main event at WrestleMania. I would like to have done that. I deserve to have gotten that opportunity, but life the way it was, and coming off the Monday Night Wars, there was a lot of heat on guys coming in from WCW. That would take 5 years to dissipate, and 5 years later it did. And I started to do the best of Nitros and got involved back with the company, and they've treated me amazing over the last 10 years, so I've got no complaints. But my WrestleMania moment, with Christian was amazing. And to be on that card, that was a great WrestleMania. And Rock and Hogan stole the show. It was amazing. It was an amazing show, I thought. And I thought that we were maybe like the third or fourth best match on the show. I thought maybe even the third best match on that show. And I loved working with Christian. But another part of that was, 12 years earlier, driving the pink Cadillac, with Honky Tonk. Like, whoever would have thought that would have been possible to be 12 years later, I'm actually wrestling in that same building in front of 67,000 people. It's pretty crazy, I think WrestleMania in itself, I'm super excited for Robbie Steiner, Rick Steiner, son, Braun Breaker. Yeah. To us, he's Bronson Steiner. To my boys, Bronson works out with me all the time. Whenever he's in town, when he was getting ready to go try out for the Ravens, he was here training with me. So I just talked to him yesterday. I'm so excited for that young man. He takes everything in stride. He's going against Ziggler for the NXT title. But you're going to see that kid be a huge, huge, huge star on the top roster in the next couple of years.
Agreed. I see him main eventing in WrestleMania or two in the future. 100%.
100%.
So let's go to something I think people connect you with 100% is recently the wrestling world lost a great man and superstar, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, two-time Hall of Famer, champion everywhere he went, created a wrestling renaissance when he jumped from WWE to WCW, forming the NWO. Now, can you share with us some stories that, we as fans, we all know the wrestling character, but can you share some stories of the man, Scott Hall?
He was an awesome dude, man. Me and him we met in Florida Championship Wrestling when I was working with the AWA. I had missed him in the AWA, but he came in with Dusty when Dusty left the NWA because Ted Turner was buying the company, and they wanted Dusty Rhodes to be a heel. And he was like, "I'm out of here," and he came, and that's where I bonded with Dusty big time. Here's a picture of me and Dream from 30 years ago, and here's a picture of me and Scott. This was our promo picture, and I'm ducking down because I'm only like an inch in shorter, Scotty, but I'm trying to look as small as I can. But we met in Florida Championship Wrestling, and then we lost touch with each other. But he had my number, and he called me, and right when he got back from Germany, because WWF at the time, WWE or WCW, nobody would return his call. And so when I picked up the phone, he was just having fun with me. He's like, "Hey, I seen you up there. Now the Freebirds, right?
Oh, nice.
Jimmy Jam Garvin and Michael P.S. Hayes. I seen you managing those tiny Freebirds. You look like Andre the Giant next to them. What you need is 6'6" of twisted steel and sex appeal. Remember the diamond stud you were working on that idea?" He goes, "I'm ready." So I was like, man, we might be able to pull this off. So I call up Magnum TA, and he's Dusty's right-hand man. Yeah. And Mag's like, I always liked Scott Hall. He goes, "Let me ask Dusty." Now, Scott had been in 3 times. Gator Scott Hall, Big Scott Hall. I don't know where he was, Starship Coyote or whatever. The characters were, he's out learning his craft. And Magnum came back and said, he's been up here, a couple times, so they're gonna pass. And I said, "Magnum, what if I could change his look?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What if I could cheat? What if you didn't recognize him?" He goes, you think you can do that? I said, I got an idea. He's got to agree to it. He goes, if you get him to do that, he goes, we'll look at him, at TV, which is at center stage. So I told him, I was like, bro, you got to dye your hair black, because they don't want you. So we got to change you. And no one has black. If you look today, there's a lot of guys with long black hair.
Yeah.
But back when Scott dyed his hair like blue black, like Elvis blue black, no one was doing that. The honky tonk man was, and that was my example. So he goes, okay, I'll do it. And then I call him, I'm watching MTV and I see George Michael with the brush cut beard. No one was doing that. I was like, dude, I call him up at 2 a.m. He's like, golly, what are you doing? My wife's pregnant with Cody, who's 30 now. He's like, God, well, hold on. And he walks out of the bedroom. He goes, what? I go, you got to shave your walrus mustache. What? Shave my mustache? He goes, I've had it since I was 15. I'm like, yeah, it's time for a change. You got to do the brush cut beard. So the bottom line is he showed up at my house with a brush cut beard and he looked like a movie star, man. And I remember me and Kimberly were talking about him, because it was so emotional. Because I called her to let her, she heard. That's right. I hadn't called her yet because it went all over the internet. And he hadn't passed yet. He was on the ventilator at the time. And she said, do you, when you called me the first time, you were like, oh God, where do you see this guy? He's such a stud. Blah, 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 blah. She goes, and you called a lot of guys studs. He's such a stud. But when I saw Scott, I was like, whoa. He may be the best looking guy I've ever seen.
Oh, no. What were you thinking?
No, I didn't. No, dude, I have no problem. Scott Hall was a movie star.
Yeah.
And, the character with WCW, they didn't really do anything with it. But he took that same look and a different little edge on it. And because the whole deal with Scott Hall was he wasn't really a good interviewer when he was playing Big Scott Hall. Mm. But when he could play a character, the one he created, driving up and down the roads in this pink Cadillac that I had back then, he'd do Scarface. And he took that there and made magic out of it. And then, of course, they came back to WCW as the NWO. And again, him and Kevin, they're as tight as you can be. Me and Kevin, same way, me and Scott. So I had the relationship with those two guys like nobody did. I used to tag with Kev, and my first tagging partner was Scott. They really wanted to help me, and I gave them this idea about the NWO, and it was Scott who was like, man, I want to take the diamond cutter. Yeah. That made my career because I was so hot at that time, but I needed just something. Nobody had touched those guys. Nobody took them down for a year and a half. And then I did because they allowed it. And the booking committee wasn't going to do it. No. And they fought for me, both of them. And I'll remember Bish, when we told Bischoff the idea, he was one of my best friends. I had all the relationships there, but Bish was not a nepotism guy. Like he pushed Hogan, he paid Hogan a ton of money, and Hogan and him were super tight, as time went on. But me and Bish were super tight from when we started. And he wouldn't do the nepotism thing. He wouldn't push me. It took other people coming to him. And when he was like, well, let me think about it. And Scott was like, hey, you guys are boys. Like, everybody knows it. Like, and being a friend's not a good thing. I don't get that. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Bish like, yeah, let's do it. Scott really went out of his way to help me. We helped each other. And then when he came into my home and we were filming the resurrection of Jake the Snake, for him to let me drive again, it was super amazing to watch him change from being so beat up and broken down and boozed out to, like he said in a video we did on him, he thanked me for reintroducing him to himself. And I'm so glad, I would like to have had more time with him, but I'm so glad we got this last 10 years, because over that time, the fans really got to see Scott Hall and, meet him at different Comic-Cons and see him become not just a one-time Hall of Famer, but a two-time Hall of Famer, because that's a very elite group. You had to do something on two different levels that were amazing. Ric Flair, one of the few people who has two-time. Booker T, one of the few guys who's two-time. It's a very, very select group, and he's one of them. And he's going to be very missed by all of us. And it just got to where I could talk about it. We filmed my next week. We have DDP Snake Pit, which is me and Jake Snake Roberts' podcast. Matter of fact, we were number 2 on all of iTunes, the hundreds of thousands of wrestling podcasts that there are, and there literally are hundreds of thousands of them. I mean, all over the world, so everybody's got a wrestling podcast. So for us, when we fluctuate between number 1 and number 14, but we just did this last podcast we put up was all about the Rhodes family, which obviously I'm very connected to. But also this week, Jake and I talk about Scott and his career and just how amazing the cat was. And oh boy, I read what I wrote up on Instagram, and I got very emotional about it because it was, and I just peace out. So I'm just getting now where I can talk about it. We're not getting too affected. My buddy Kevin Nash, I don't know how long it'll take him where he can just talk about him, where it's not, because it really affected Kevin. It hit me really hard, but it hit Kevin like at a level that like it's your father, like they were brothers at a different level.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, because again, I think everyone connects Scott Hall with you and the way, you helped him over the years. And so I just want to say, thank you so much for sharing your stories about Scott Hall, because it's something all of us are, even fans. I grew up watching him as well, and you're affected by the passing of someone that I didn't personally know. Obviously you did as well, in a much more impactful way than any of us. So, thank you again for sharing your stories about Scott Hall, because I think people want to hear your thoughts and your feelings about this. So again, thank you very much for that.
When Scott Hall passed, he was the number 1 trending name in the world. That's the impact that Scott Hall had, and there's so many times where when I was managing him, and I brought him in and I created his gimmick and all that. So I'm sure there was times where I thought I knew everything about professional wrestling. And Scott Hall would say to me, Dally, it's just your opinion. And there's so many times where I would call him over when he went to WWE and say, hey, dude, I just leave a message on his machine. Remember when you told me about less is more? Okay, I get it now. It's like there was certain things he would tell me that I, over the years. He was so smart, just like Jake, that I got to have relationships, like super tight relationships, with 2 of the best minds in the business. Scott Hall, he wasn't that guy before he became Razor, but once he became Razor, all of the knowledge, all of the work that he put in over that 5 or 6 years, from the Dusty Rhodes to the Dick Murdochs to the, Dickie Slater, like all the guys that he worked with over that period. Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig was a plethora of knowledge to him. Kurt was so smart in the business, and he taught him so much when they were in the AWA. So it was all ready to be shined out there once he became Razor. And once he became Razor, he could become Scott. And that's what we got, in WCW. And that was pure money, man. Pure money.
Well, Diamond Dallas Page, thank you so much for sharing your stories about Scott Hall, WrestleMania as well. I greatly appreciate you being here. Remember, folks, he is hosting a pre-WrestleMania party. And don't you worry, we're going to talk about some more things in just a few minutes. But my Zoom is telling me that I need to upgrade. So I need to stop this meeting and open a new one.
All right. Well, it's one thing I want to say. Anybody who's still watching here, Guardians of Justice is my new show that is up on Netflix right now. It's a very dark superhero satire. And I play, if Batman was ever to get older than 40, actually got in his 60s, and he drank and he smoked and he killed for the greater good, you might appreciate him. It's a really amazing, over the top satire that people check out. I really love to hear what people think about it.
Outstanding. Again, DDP, thank you so much for being here. Folks, I've been Steve Fall. This has been NBC's 10 Count. Have a good one. Bang!
Bang! Thank you, buddy.